You're listening to Full Wales, See Wales, the podcast about Wales and Welsh politics. If you want to be more informed about Wales and everything that goes on here, keep listening after this.
As anyone who listens to this podcast regularly will know, we are supported by Lion Containers. So they take shipping containers and they tailor them to your specific needs. We're going to be recording at the Royal Welsh Agricultural Show from within a Lion container. Very, very versatile. But what they have been doing is working with young farmers in Wales.
Were either of you in the young farmers, and I stopped myself.
It's a fair way to stop yourself. No, I wasn't. And I remember doing a gig a little while ago, and there were some young farmers in the audience, and I was just obsessed with them. Because I thought the first time they said, we're young farmers, I thought they were just describing how old they were and that they were farmers. We're young farmers.
Yeah. But no, they meant it from the clubs.
Yeah, which I love. I didn't really know much about it growing up and things. But yeah, it's I've been reading quite a lot about it, and I think I saw one poll of the amount of young farmers who are so concerned about what's happening because it feels like at this precipice of where is the industry going.
Yeah.
And, it being such a family orientated profession as well, whether they will be able to take over the farm or whether, and then their generation, who knows?
Yeah, well, the clubs do amazing work, up and downwards, even for people who don't necessarily live on farms. If you're still from a countryside background, they do loads.
Oh, really?
They'll do loads of different workshops. You can kind of get qualifications from within the club, public speaking. When I interview farmers for another part of my career, I can always tell which ones have gone through the young farmers because their public speaking is superb.
That's interesting. Yeah. So a real community element.
It really, really is. It brings whole communities together, and Lion Containers do a lot to support them, and we'll be doing so at the Royal Welsh Show.
So they are actually going to be unveiling a special Lion container at the opening ceremony on the Monday morning. So you'll be able to see that if you head there. You can also head to @Lion Containers on all the socials or to www.lioncontainers.co.uk.
Does it have our faces on it?
Better.
It's better. Hello and welcome to Full Wales, See Wales with me, Robin Morgan.
Me, Mel Owen.
And me, Will Hayward.
Hello.
The gang back together.
I know.
Reunited.
It feels like ages.
How did you feel about what we said about you while you were away?
Absolutely fine.
Yeah, because we were lovely people and were nice to you.
Genuinely was a lot better than I thought it would be. Where's Wally? The only real sort of slur to my people.
The worst W slur that there is, some might say.
I've never dressed as Where's Wally for some sort of Halloween or fancy dress, but I feel like I can't wear contact lenses, so I can only do glasses themed.
Can you not wear contacts?
Yeah, I've tried it multiple times, just can't get them in, mate. Can't get them in. Not for me.
Mm.
But Where's Wally would be a good one. So happy to do any sort of. I'm available for corporate bookings, dressing as Where's Wally for your corporate event.
I'm so surprised you've really dropped the ball on that because it's such an obvious one for you. But then maybe it's been too obvious.
Yeah, maybe.
That actually,
I think that's it. When I used to sort of uni, people dressing as Where's Wally and wearing the big fake glasses, and people would assume people used to try on my glasses a lot. Sort of on nights
did you
out.
hate it?
Hated it.
But then, if girls wanted to do it, you'd be like, "Oh, go on then."
Yeah, a little bit, and then they'd be like, "Pass it back," and I was like, and they were like, "No, okay." Sure.
My brother has glasses, and he said the most annoying thing is if someone takes your glasses, puts them on, and goes, "Oh, you're blind."
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, mate. That's why I'm wearing them.
Or they say, "Oh, I can't see anything." It's like, me neither, because you've got my glasses.
Yeah, so that's two of us.
Give them back. It's nice to be back. Thank you for being relatively nice about me. A big fan of the podcast.
Isn't it weird listening to it when you're not on it? And genuinely, I think I said this to you guys multiple times, but when I was listening to the ep that I wasn't on, I was like, if I wasn't on this, I'd love this. Do you know?
Yeah,
it's really great. Yeah.
We're fans of the podcast. I think we're just fans of Will Hayward.
Unfortunately, I think that is true. There are many fans of Will Hayward.
There was not online this weekend because I got...
because of what you said at Glastonbury.
Yeah. The BBC took him off.
My bills were so high, I just said deaf to the EDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to this week to talk to you about a few things. So I was in North Wales for the Welsh Labour conference.
I'm so excited to get all the goss.
It was journalistically, it was brilliant. There was so much stuff. There's loads of insights. It was a weird feeling. It was a really weird atmosphere. Someone described it to me as like being at a funeral for someone who's still just about alive.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
hilarious.
That was Keir Starmer.
Yeah, that would be quite fun. Would you like to go to your funeral?
Yes, I would.
I think I'd like to.
Yeah,
Not to your funeral.
Yeah, I'd love to go to your funeral, and I'll arrange it for next week. There was, and I'm telling half a story here, but there was a Jamaican politician whose obituary was put out in the news before he actually died, and reading his own obituary gave him a heart attack and killed him. Yeah, I've got that from, and I know I haven't made that up. That is true.
It's like a Dostoevsky play or something. That's amazing.
But apparently, like, it was so scathing to be like, you know, he was a terrible politician, and now
it like ripped him apart.
Yeah,
it wasn't
now he's
like
died with no loved ones or friends or respect nationally, and he was still alive and he read it, had a heart attack, gone.
Well, this is what you should think about when you message Will Hayward horrible abuse, because any of these things could be the last thing to.
The pen is mightier than the sword. Unless you're stabbed.
Yeah, track it up to me.
Oh, bloody! In your newsletter, which I did read, you said that it felt like a similar vibe to the Welsh Conservative one about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was spring last year when the Tories knew that the best case scenario for them was probably a hung parliament, and they're in the skid, and they can't arrest that slide, and they're trying to do anything, but they know they're going off the cliff.
Well, like that year, they were in the run-up to the general election, they were posting things on their social media feed of them in third place in polls, saying just like, it's between us and the Lib Dems for second place. Like, that was their strategy of like, don't let Labour have a super majority. That was the sort of the angle they were going for. Like, it's going to be bad, let's not make it too bad.
So before we go into the Labour conference, I want to talk to you a little bit about electoral reform, because I wrote a piece for The Guardian last week on why we need to change the electoral system. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that, but then I want to talk to you about the response to that, because I think it's very indicative of Reform as a party and what they're aiming to do. If I was to say to you about electoral systems, what system do we have in the UK for general elections?
First past the post.
Sir.
Oh, you guys are good.
Yes.
With my help, you could be the best. I said that.
It's like Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
Your name's Will.
Good Will Hayward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'll take it, yeah.
I loved the bit that you put on about, and I'll let you describe it properly, but the bit like when people want to go for a coffee and they can't choose what type of coffee to get, but they all want coffee, but then there's a random two who all want to go and do Jaeger bombs, get smashed, and then you end up going to get Jaeger bombs and get smashed because they're the only ones who can like decide.
Yeah, so first past the post as a system is basically, for people who aren't aware, in every seat, whoever gets the most votes wins. Now, you might think, well, yeah, that makes sense. That's democracy. Now, that worked perfectly well when there was two parties. When you had Conservatives and Labour as the overwhelming parties, it meant whoever finished higher of the two of them in a seat won the seat. And that was fine. The problem is now, Labour in the last election got 34% of the vote. The largest party, 34% of the vote.
Landslide. Yeah.
And they won 63% of the seats. So only a third of the people voted for them, but they won 2/3 of the seats. And that's the problem with first past the post. And very few other countries, democracies, use it because it's bananas. I'm trying not to swear as much.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah. Bananas.
It's fucking bananas.
I'm sorry for any grocers who are offended by that. So,
can we crunch those numbers, producer Darryl? How many grocers listen to the show? That'd be great.
The current polling UK-wide shows that Reform are on course, let's say between 26 to 30% of the vote. So if we take the latest poll, which said 26, this was a poll by YouGov. It's an MRP poll, really reliable. It says that 26% of the vote. Now, they are on course with that to actually potentially win 42% of the seats. But there's other polls that put them on a majority. But basically, Reform, if you look at the narrative that you hear from Reform most of all, but also a lot of the UK media, you get this feeling that because you look at a map and it's all light blue, like an electoral map, it's all light blue, you think, oh my God, everyone wants Reform. Everyone wants them. But when you see it's 26% of the vote, what that actually means is that 75% of people don't want Reform. And that is the problem with the system we've got. It allows the biggest minority to have a majority. And when you've got a really divided country, which I think we'd all agree we are at the moment, that just pulls you further to extremes because you then lurch left, you lurch right. And it means that essentially the tail can wag the dog. Now, Reform are actually polling better in Wales than they are in the rest of the UK. But because in Wales we have a much more proportional system, there is simply no conversation about Reform winning a majority because they can't. 50% of people in Wales aren't going to vote for Reform. And that is the difference between the two systems. In Wales, we have a system that reflects people's votes and we get a parliament which is broadly reflective of it. Whereas in the UK, we end up with a system which essentially rewards the biggest minority, which is not good. And I suggested that Keir Starmer needs to change that. And that's the biggest thing he could do to change British politics.
How far off do you think we are away from another debate on that? Because it was a Cleggmania promise, wasn't it, in 2010, 2011, that it was voted on?
Yeah, so the Lib Dems, as part of their deal, their terribly done deal to join with the Tories during the coalition, they said, we want proportional representation. And David Cameron went, no, we're not going to do that. I don't know why it was Mark Drakeford.
It is your one accent. And
it is my one accent.
You do it, we've got to guess who it is. And I love that about this podcast. Yeah.
Do Judi Dench. It's the same.
Bond, this isn't very good.
Yeah, same one. Great.
Cameron said, no, we're just going to have a referendum on AV, which is alternative vote, which isn't a proportional system, but it is more proportional. And anyway, that was rejected. And so ever since then, electoral reform has been on the back burner.
And it feels like that's our generational vote, and therefore the issue gets sort of sidetracked, right?
Did we have that referendum?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so I wasn't old enough, 17. So that would have been why. That's why it didn't go through, because Morgan's over here, we didn't turn up to the parliament.
If adult Mel Owen was involved in this, then...
Come on, this would be a very different...
Young Farmer's gain was the British electorate's loss.
Yeah.
No, that's why I didn't realise it was happening.
Yeah, were you engaged with politics as like a 17-year-old?
Question time was always on in the house. Have I got news for you? That kind of thing. So I knew who people were, but I don't think I had an opinion.
Yeah.
My dad used to make me read newspapers every day, but I think I looked at them and like skipped the pages. You know what I mean? But it was very much encouraged in my house. But yeah, it wasn't until I was 19 that I really knew what was happening. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I find it interesting. My son watches Newsround in school, and one day he was off sick. And he wanted to watch it on iPlayer because that's the day, so he wouldn't miss it, which I thought was quite sweet.
I think Newsround is actually some of the best news that you can get. It's really well done, Newsround.
Is it? And that's great that your son wanted. It was like, sorry, we need to watch that back. I can't miss what went on today.
Yeah, and he'd be like screaming about bias and mainstream bullshit, and but that's just something we talk about in our house.
And then he abused Will Hayward online.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they say like don't give 8-year-olds phones, but he's doing good work.
Exactly. So he's doing God's work. You might say. Yeah. I feel like Will hasn't healed from this properly, and he's not really on board with this.
I haven't slept. I haven't slept much. So I drove back, not because of the trolley, because I drove back from Llandudno at like 9:30 in the evening and got back at like 2, and then had to like schedule the newsletter for the next morning. And it's like, then once you've kind of been in that, the next day you then got to push the newsletter out. So you end up like, I've just been on for a few days.
And that's hell of a drive from Llandudno as well.
Oh my God. And the whole time you're just thinking HS2 consequentials, we've been screwed over here.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a pretty lame drive. But when Labour won 63% of the seats with 34% of the vote, Nigel Farage was like, well, this is outrageous. Our party have only got 5 MPs and we got loads of votes because they came second in loads of places. So he was very much in favour of PR. In fact, that is, it's one of the few policies Reform actually have. So I put this on X. I put it on everything, but mostly...
Oh, look, the little Wakanda sign you just did.
Like I'm
X.
Morphin Power Ranger. Wakanda sign. I was going to do that. I'm not.
Don't do the accent, Will. It will just be Mark Drakeford again.
Yeah. Wakanda forever.
Nice.
That is my alarm in the morning now, thank you.
I put this online, and Reform, now that Reform look like they could win a really big majority on the back of quite minimal support, they really, really did not take well to what I posted. So, you know Darren Grimes, former GB News?
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
He's retweeting my stuff and having a go at me about it.
He's always... how does that man have a life? He's constantly on Twitter.
He doesn't.
You know, one of those people, whenever you log on, they're just always there, and you're like, I don't need... And I'm not following you. So I don't understand why you're constantly in my feed.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's online that much cannot be doing well.
Or healthily, or... No, exactly.
Touch some grass, Darren.
So he said, did you say the same thing when Labour won a large majority with a small vote and a low turnout? Absolutely incredible. Now, this was a trigger. The feedback was just general people saying, oh, I found this interesting, I disagree with this, normal conversation that human beings have. Then suddenly Darren Grimes posted this, and within 2 hours I had 1,600 comments. And what I'm going to do, I've taken some of the best ones, and what I want you to do is I'd like you to read some of them out, because I think this will be quite fun.
Because we wrote them.
Yeah, because you wrote them. It's nice for you to own your own work.
Yeah.
The first one, I'll explain what the first one was. Below it, someone took a picture of me and put it in the comments and said, what comes to mind? Now, here are...
That feels personal.
Yeah, it was a bit. Here are some of the comments. So what I want you to do, just read out the name of the person, and then what they said. You can take it in turns.
Okay.
Just scroll down.
I'll happily go first. So, William, 3rd Earl of Wan Chai, that feels like a hate crime, William Bashaw, has said about Will Hayward's photo, has Starmer found him on Grindr yet?
Keep it going.
Sure. Cool.
Sure, okay.
Dave Webber.
The photo.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a photo of Israel's flag. So I think he's a Eurovision fan. So Dave Webber 96.5% comments underneath the photo review, soy boy.
Now I didn't know what soy boy meant. Do you know what soy boy means?
What's a soy boy?
Soy boy is in a very similar vein to beta cuck.
Yeah, it's
okay.
basically a unmasculine beta male kind of thing.
Asking me, do I know what soy boy is?
You're looking at the
Honey,
soy
you're
boy.
looking at one.
I'm patient zero. I'm the original
The
soy.
original soy boy.
The poster boy, soy
just
boy.
Keep him going.
Okay. Tweldo, but that's his name, but his @ is Welsh_Theo. There can't be many Theos in Wales, so I will find him. His comment, very simple and a classic, I think you might say,
Sure.
of the insult. Nonce.
Yeah. He calls you a nonce, and his profile picture is what looks like a motorbike.
Yeah, a classic motorbike block.
Joe follows up. Joe's handle is @bucketlauncher, which I'm not entirely sure what that means.
But also, what is the photo?
Oh, that's Jeremy Clarkson holding some sort of drink, I think.
Yeah, it's a beer. It's
a
probably,
beer.
yeah.
It's a lager.
Yeah.
So Joe described you as an uphill gardener.
I don't know what that means.
No, I am going to Google it because that sounds so funny, and I actually quite like that one.
I feel like this person is just worried about no farmers, no food.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
Oh, you're so right, Jeremy Clarkson.
I think you're an uphill gardener.
And the buckets are like horse buckets.
Sure.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So KP man with some digits after presumably his phone number because he's not getting any in a bar, has put not a bad quality shirt.
It's nice.
I know. I needed a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's strong.
He threw you a bone there. Not a good quality shirt.
No, and also
let's not go
like
too far.
design-wise, not mentioned.
Awful. But quality, not bad.
But also, I think when you get to a certain age, you pay for quality.
Yeah.
Just like with
I
footwear.
mean, you're not going to attract Starmer on Grindr in bad quality shirts.
Come on.
He's used to TM Lewin, isn't he? Like you
Yeah.
need a good quality shirt,
Yes.
and it's not a bad one. Well done, you.
Yeah.
Thank you, KP man.
@Lord_Orc the Fourth. This person.
They put anyone in the House of Lords nowadays, don't they?
Absolutely.
This is mad.
A vegan, you can tell.
A vegan, you can tell. Michael Gort says he's a gimp. It's nice to have balance.
Yeah.
Is this the only way I could get you guys to be nice to me? Was just to
This isn't us being nice. You need to raise your bar for friendship if us sort of awkwardly
You said my
saying...
shirt wasn't bad.
We
that's true.
enjoyed this too much.
There's actually thousands more which I included.
What day did you get? That was on the 27th, which was what, Friday?
Saturday.
Saturday. So
no,
some
it's
of these comments were Saturday afternoon when most people are out enjoying the sun with their families.
It's a life.
So
I always think about that with the timestamp of these things
Yeah.
when people are spewing hatred at sort of like 6 a.m. Just see the sunrise.
It's been lovely out there.
Yeah,
it's been lovely weather. Get outside. Look at the butterflies. Have an ice cream.
Yeah.
So
Have a Magnum.
Get down at the garage, have a fucking Clippo and get a life.
So we won't labour this point any more than we have, but I'll give you the quick fire 4, which I particularly enjoyed.
quite
Leonard
something.
Galpin wrote "resign."
From what?
He's self-employed. Actually, refer yourself to HR, Will.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Stutley said, "Most of your mates sound dull."
Ow.
That was a dig at you guys. I know.
Okay,
How'd you like that,
now
guys?
I'm insulted.
And I'm going to finish with one from Alfred the Great, who's got a blue tick, so you know it's true.
Oh.
He put fuck off, you little arsewipe.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Well, how do you feel though? How do you feel? Because this isn't nice. And as much as Robin and I enjoyed that, I would not be here today had I got that on Saturday.
So that was 20 of 1600. I think what is interesting about Twitter now is if you block someone, they just can't comment. They can still see you. You can't like get rid of them.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Yeah. So how do I feel about it? I think, because I was getting these while I was sat in a hotel in Llandudno after been on my own there for about 3 days. A bit of you is like, well, that is quite horrible. And like reading through it, it's a bit like, oh my God, fucking hell, is this the world? But actually my overwhelming thought was actually, there's something really insightful here into what nail I've hit on the head with this piece. So because this isn't like people scrolling through Twitter and seeing something. This is a concerted effort because actually I went through and like looked at some like keywords. There was key phrases which were said by all of them. I'd say a third of them were kind of along this. Yeah, there's a lot of nonce. What it shows is Reform are very, to use their phrase, triggered by any suggestion that they are not all powerful. That there isn't this huge groundswell of support behind them. This idea that they are not just going to steamroller their way to power. Because actually, the thing they most took exception for was me saying 75% of people don't want reform. Because that's just what the poll said. Yeah. And it was obvious that the person who had kind of orchestrated this was trying to discredit that as a view. This is a tactic of people on that right side of politics for across the world. But before social media, there was this. They tried to do this. It's about quietening dissenting voices. It's about this person has said something we disagree with. Not only do we want to go after them to discredit them in front of others, we want to make it so they are not inclined to do sort of stuff like this again. And it can have a chilling effect. Like I can totally understand why someone getting that would not want to post.
Yeah, put themselves through that again.
Yeah. So obviously what I did was draft a piece on how great 20 miles an hour is, which is going to go out next week. But I think it is really indicative of the way our politics is going to go. If you say something which is detrimental to them, people are going to really try hard to make you not want to talk anymore. And that is how the extremes of politics win and how they hold power.
It does feel sort of like cultish, doesn't it? And not just Reform, I think, in any kind of polarised version of politics where, especially online, if you disagree with us, then we will come for you. And it is scary. Like talking about... So I can't remember who it was, but someone was thinking about suggesting you should have ID checks when you log in, when you sign up for something. If this person had their passport picture and their actual name behind this, I think that does stop the vast majority of these things. I know it's quite...
A lot of that will be bots. It won't even be people. It will be bots which have been programmed to, we're going after this, here are the key things.
And is that and those people, those bots would have been hired by some sort of communications agency who have been hired by...
There's quite.
Well, this is it, right? Like, because I don't really, I hear about bot farming, and we heard about it, like, Russia and in the run up to Trump 2016 and things. And obviously that is the end goal, isn't it? To sort of flood social media with, lots of people think this opinion, so that we've talked about, wanting
shifting the over to the window of what's acceptable.
Wanting to be on the winning side of arguments. So that, even before 2016, the idea that Fox News was sort of polluting people's parents' views if it was on 24/7. Is that what it is then? Just to sort of basically flood the market, flood the opinion space with this kind of stuff?
I mean, the piece I wrote which elicited that response was saying, maybe we should make our electoral system more democratic. That was the point. And that was what brought about that response. Now imagine, I'm a straight white guy. Imagine if I was a woman expressing a concern about maternity pay, and you receive that pile on. And you're not
even
used
just a woman talking about this.
Or a woman saying, hello.
Or just expressing an opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to dampen any kind of dissenting voice. It's quite extreme regimes and parties and groups when they're trying to get into power. They don't want to defeat their opponents in terms of, beat them in terms of their ideas. What they want to do is to stop them talking at all.
And do you think this stuff matters? Do you think how representative is this compared to the UK on a wider scale? Because we can look at the polling numbers and stuff, and I see comments on Facebook threads and things, and there's just a lot of just hate and negativity with these things of people just like spending their time and hours doing that, like just commenting at, all those fake, news articles and people just jumping on it. And obviously that drives engagement, keeps people on the site, good for ad revenue, etc., etc. But how much of that is equatable to the average person, or is the average person now becoming more in tune to this as we spend more time online?
I think it depends on how long it goes on for, because a lot of this stuff, very rarely do people go, oh, I have changed my opinion, this is my view. You kind of drift and you merge, and your views, like, it's like tectonic plate shifting rather than like wholesale big changes. That's quite rare. I think I don't want to kind of go over it too much more, but what I think is worth pointing out is the extremes of any political system. What they want to do is they want you to debate on their terms. So they want to debate on immigration. They want everything. They want you to fight them on the ground of their choosing. And what Keir Starmer has done pretty much since he became Prime Minister is go, yes, let's go to your ground and have a fight. With all the stuff at Glastonbury, for instance, that we've seen, Keir Starmer has gone, oh, that's it. BBC have got lots of question and answer. This is really bad. And actually, what he could have done, I would argue, is try and take the heat out of it. As a leader, what the right want Keir Starmer to do is agree with them. Say I'm a right-wing politician and I'm having a go at immigration. What I really want is Keir Starmer to try and also have a go at immigration, because he's never going to out anti-immigrant me. So I want him to have that debate. What I don't want him to talk about is stuff that brings people together and things that unite people and stuff like that, because that's an area where I can't win. But Keir Starmer has decided not to do that.
Sorry, what's the phrase? Is it don't roll in the mud? I'm so going to butcher this. Andrew Artie would love this because it's the language of the farm. But don't... Thank you. Don't roll in the mud with the pig because only the pig enjoys it. Is that... I really butchered that.
I've not heard the phrase, but I like it.
Do you know what I mean, though? That's the kind of the meaning. It's like, don't do it because they're the only ones who get it.
Well, we've seen this with like the Welsh Conservative Party, like whether they would start to try and be reform or whether they try to start moving more central. And they have... And this is what Starmer's doing now, isn't it? He's trying to sort of play... that right of centre card and being the almost what he was doing, what I think a lot of people thought he was doing in the run up to the election, where just placate the press.
He's just doing enough to get elected.
Just survive until you get in. But then a year on, is it today or this week? Certainly is a year since he's become Prime Minister. And it feels, as we've said before, kind of basically very similar government to what we had.
He's still trying to find an election he's already won.
Yeah.
On that subject, let's talk about the Labour conference. Okay, Welsh Labour conference.
Spill the tea.
So, normally conferences are like Friday, Saturday. Most of the stuff is Friday. There's a bit of a kind of evening do where all the politicos come together and get excited. And then on the Saturday, there's like a few speeches. They normally put someone big on the Saturday just so that people turn up on the second day. This time, Labour were like, no. In advance, they'd said it would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I thought, okay, well, I'll go up a day early. So I'm there for the Friday. The Friday was just like evening drinks. So now... The evening drinks started, there was like a drinks reception, and then they went to a Llandudno nightclub.
There's a nightclub there?
Oh, there is now.
Oh, yeah.
My days.
So it's called Broadway Boulevard. The drink prices...
When you think of a Broadway show, you think Llandudno. Frank Sinatra.
So I actually, when I was at the urinal, took a picture...
Please continue speaking.
I took a picture of the poster above the urinal, which had the drinks prices on.
Oh, cool.
Listen to these prices. 2 Jaeger bombs for £5.
Yes, that's
that feels about right.
Yeah, that's fine. 2 for £5.
£2 for a single and mixer.
Yeah, it's good.
That's amazing. This is like being on my Napa. People always compare Llandudno to Napa.
They water it down.
Yeah.
And it's not good quality alcohol.
No, it's not.
This is the issue.
This is the thing.
£5 for a VK fishbowl.
A fishbowl for £5.
Fucking hell.
We're going next live show, Llandudno, fuck Wrexham. Llandudno, sorry.
We're off to the Boulevard.
Yes, please.
To Broadway, please.
To Broadway Boulevard.
Did Eluned smash a fishbowl?
She didn't smash a fishbowl, but she did wear a T-shirt saying the Red Welsh Way.
Oh, I just saw this on your X.
X.
Yeah.
Are those available online?
there was badges there. I actually tried to get a badge just
I thought you
because
said badgers.
I did try to get a badger, but they culled them.
Yeah, fair enough.
She was dancing to the song, Rah, Rah, Rasputin.
Oh,
wow.
Russia's
I hate
greatest
that
love machine.
song,
Yeah.
I hate, and I do mean hate. Like, everyone's got like an irrational thing they just strongly dislike. I'll leave the dance floor when that's on.
Interesting.
I really
Whereas
don't like it.
Eluned flocked to it because it has left-wing
Yeah.
connotations.
There's a picture of her wrapped in a Welsh flag.
Is she on her own?
Oh, lush. Is this her thing now? Did she had one glow stick thing, didn't she? And now everyone's like, she's a raver.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
this is her on. It was like, this is her party trick.
It's hard to know what to make of this, because actually Eluned Morgan is quite fun on a sesh. Like, she's quite personable, quite a good laugh. But it was very clearly trying to seize a narrative of, look how Welsh we are. Because she was dancing wearing a red Welsh Way t-shirt, waving a Welsh flag.
It is a bit much. Do you know what I mean? It is really pushing the point quite a lot. Like, what more could we do? She could have done, the face paint, the Welsh dragon face paint. She could have done that if she really wanted to commit.
Want a daffodil hat.
Yeah,
Yes,
daffodil hat.
absolutely.
I think sort of after, if she wasn't staggering home with a plate of chips, like a little tray of chips, that's very Welsh, I think.
Gravy on chips, curry sauce on chips.
I'm a curry sauce person, personally.
Chips, cheese and gravy.
Oh, I'm with you on the curry sauce, but that does sound delightful.
Yeah. I think the cheese has added it, but I think gravy feels like I'm northern.
Yeah.
I go chips, salt, cheese, then gravy. No, gravy then cheese.
Yeah.
Does it melt the cheese in?
It doesn't melt it that much, but because usually chip shop cheese is pretty stale, it's like adds a crunch to the top.
Yeah,
Lovely.
good. Have we turned into off menu?
I think we have, but better, maybe.
On menu.
On menu.
On menu.
Yeah. With an Eluned
What do you
Morgan.
cook with? Soy?
Yeah, I'm a soy boy. Yeah, I saw the pictures of Eluned raving, but it does feel like this picture, they talked about that before. Like the
Let's
fact they've
do it
had
again.
meetings about this,
Yeah.
it feels...
Did it feel contrived?
Yeah.
it feels a little bit tragic that it's just like, let's get the rave stuff off. Let's go on Amazon.
Yeah.
Let's buy some rave
I'm
stuff.
torn about how contrived it was, because it does feel contrived, but also I went there deliberately to get a picture of it. So
'Cause you knew
am
it was
I the
gonna happen.
contriver?
Yeah, this is the thing now that we all expect it. But this is her thing. But I just think, like, let the joke go. A little. It would be like, I know we've all banged on about Mark Drakeford and cheese, but like, bless him, he said it once, and we all
He was a bit awkward when we bought cheese out when he was here as well,
because
wasn't
he
he?
probably
To start with.
hates cheese now. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, everyone's banged on about. When I say everyone, I mean Will Hayward. But I think, in all fairness, he had one thing. It's not like he made himself the cheese man. We all did that to him. Whereas Eluned Morgan is making herself like the rave babe.
But do you remember Theresa May coming out at the conference after she did the awkward dance? She came out to
Dancing
Dancing
Queen.
Queen and did that and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think it's trying to profit off. It's trying to win the meme.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's right. It's right to ride a wave of like an organic response.
Yeah.
And they ride it to the point it's no longer organic.
And it's so difficult to do that. Like I used to do some joke writing for ads, and basically they were trying to be like, we just want to go viral. We just want to do this. We just want to yeah. So, but having examples of perfect Twitter adverts and like paying some brilliant social media intern who's 18 and understands this kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
then getting like a group of 30-year-olds to an hour of a decision, just going right. What is funny? What are the children?
Yeah.
What do children think
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this?
Yeah.
You can overthink it, right? Whereas I don't. Yeah,
we need a rap.
How many voters is this winning? Who's like?
Yeah, I don't know how many people are like, oh, we thought they didn't stand up for Wales before, but now that I've seen the flag,
Yeah,
I'm in.
I know. The 90s is back. This is not Brat, and I'm happy for that to be on record.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't know what Brat is, I'm confident in saying this is not Brat.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some substance. Let's try and talk about some substance. Keir Starmer.
That felt like a dick.
It was. Let's talk about Keir Starmer's speech. So Keir was scheduled to do a 40-minute speech on the Saturday. I requested an interview with him, so to place like Wales Online, but the Prime Minister was too busy. I said, I need 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But no, there was no time for it. I genuinely feel sorry for Welsh Labour, because I think they probably did try, but I think his people were like having none of it.
Did he give any interviews at all?
He gave an interview to the BBC the day before.
Right.
He wouldn't do anything to print media. What I would have loved to have asked him is just straight up, why is a Cambridge to Oxford line a Welsh project? I'd just ask him that. But no, busy man, no time. So he was due to start his speech at 10:05. Okay, he did start it at 10:05.
The legend slot.
The legend slot. Yeah, Rod Stewart came on.
Rod Stewart wore 2 belts during his performance. Is that relevant? No, it's not. Continue.
He was supposed
Substance, Robin. Substance. We're not capable of it.
The standing orders said that he would be talking for 40 minutes. So he was on at 10:05. He was in his car leaving by 10:35. He was already gone.
I've underrun at gigs before.
yeah,
when it's not going well. If you ever see me check my watch twice in a gig, it's smell. This thing vibrates when I'm supposed to get off stage. If I've checked in, it's like 13 minutes left. Have you ever had that?
Yeah. You're looking at it like it's been 7 minutes. Okay, cool. I've done everything I've got. Hate it.
I watched Robin live at the Green Man Festival, and he was doing a live show, and it was like 2 in the afternoon, and it was like the most beautiful day. Other days have been wet. It was the most beautiful day. So people were kind of wandering in, but it was hard to hold an audience. The amount of times you must have looked at your watch, and you ended up just getting Freddos out of your pocket and throwing them to your kids in the audience.
I love that. Okay, yeah.
I just go, well, I think festivals, I think it's fine to be that unprofessional. I don't drink anymore, so like at least that was me sober.
I do love it when a comic literally goes, shit, we got 20 minutes left.
If you ever hear them say, what else shall I tell you about myself?
Yeah, that is a key thing. I've run out of everything.
Yeah.
I'm going back to things I did 3 years ago.
Any other trauma to unpack?
Yeah.
Or then like half an hour into the set, so what do you do? Like going back into crowd work as you crunch through the gears.
You're
of
wearing a
performing.
hat.
Yeah. Is that relevant?
So Keir Starmer didn't do any of that. No,
no,
he just did his bit and then left.
The bloke's got no chat.
No. He had an auto cue. So normally, you know, when you've got those like clear screens that you can't see if you're the audience, but they can see them.
Yeah.
So he didn't have that. He had 2 enormous plasma screens at the back of the hall.
Yeah.
And they had his lines coming up. So I could look, like turn slightly and just see what he was going to say in advance.
Wait for encore.
Hold for applause.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. But every time there was any word which was remotely Welsh, in brackets underneath, they had it written phonetically. So for diolch, they had DEE in caps, hyphen, OCK. So diolch. With an exclamation mark.
Diolch.
Diolch.
You know what? I'm going to controversially say I don't mind that. I don't mind it at all. And I think it shows that they're trying. And I'm fine with that.
I said in the newsletter, I was like, have I mispronounced Welsh? I think any listener from this podcast knows I am in a very glass house here throwing a stone. Do I write things phonetically if I'm speaking, especially names, if I'm doing like award ceremonies and stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Write them phonetically. What I would not do, if I'm trying to win over the Welsh audience and show that as a UK Prime Minister I get it, is have right next to my audience's face, diolch written across. I just thought that was quite funny.
I do think that maybe like just be subtle with it. Also, I do think if he's not even speaking for that long, I do think it's not unreasonable to expect your Prime Minister to be quite a good public speaker and to at least like remember
or just write it on a little piece of paper and put it in front of you. I think
your main talking points, I think that, I don't know if I'm expecting too much, but I just think if you think you're capable of leading a country, I think you should be able to remember a speech.
I was watching a clip on X yesterday of Beyonce and her, you see the thing of her car.
Yes.
And like I saw like a fan video of, did you see this? She's like, she's in the air sitting in a car and I think like
it started tilting basically.
She's like in the air in this arena. And I saw this fan sort of video turning and she had a big screen with her fucking lyrics on.
Stop. Are you joking?
I am not joking. And I was like, this is the real issue.
I've never seen Mel as outraged as she is.
I am so outraged.
Her lyrics.
That she wrote. Okay, don't kill this for me, okay?
How long ago was it you went to her gig?
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to think where in that stadium she could have had them. But also, this is so not the point because Keir Starmer was not floating above the venue Cymru in a car, but...
That's iconic.
That would have been
That's what
great,
they should do.
Right?
That's what Eluned should be doing.
Next time, get her on a harness, up around the roof, floating around.
In a car, in a convertible, the Red Welsh Way written across it like it's like an 80s, what's that car show when they used to drive around the...
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard, thank you, Daryl.
Yeah.
Do that, loaded 20-mile-an-hour signs. Own it.
Beautiful. I think they can have that for free.
I love that we just had a go at her for being gimmicky.
No.
June far
Bad
enough.
gimmicks.
Yeah.
Repeating the same gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be more Beyonce.
If she had been more Beyonce, no problems.
Yeah.
So let's wrestle this back to the substance for a little bit. She
Commenters on YouTube have really rattled Will Hayward.
He's taking it out on us.
Yeah, exactly.
His friends.
Yeah.
His soy boy friends.
apparently I've got boring friends.
What's going on today? You feel a bit brave today, and I don't like it.
Bullies pass. If he's bullied, he passes it down.
Yeah, hurt people, Will.
One of the strangest things from Starmer's speech was, and this is not a Welsh Labour line, this is a UK Labour line. He obviously wanted to address Plaid Cymru, but doesn't really know anything about them at all.
Can't pronounce them.
Yeah, it was just
Plaid.
Lie.
Plaid Cymru.
Pleiad Curum. He said that there was a danger of a backroom stitch-up between the Tories, Reform and Plaid.
Okay, nobody believes that. I'm sorry, nobody believes
What room is this?
Now, bear in mind, Plaid ruled out going in with Reform before Labour did.
Literally nobody believes it.
That's so
I'm
funny.
so sorry.
The idea that voting Plaid is Reform by the back door only would ever work in a first-past-the-post system. But it's a PR system. Who you vote for, your vote goes to that person. The only time your vote doesn't count for much is if you go for a party which is so small they're unlikely to get over 10% of the vote.
That's so pathetic.
It is pathetic. You're so right.
I asked Eluned Morgan about them, and she basically was like, I didn't make that argument. We didn't say that. And to be fair, it wasn't a Welsh Labour release. It was from UK Labour.
Who don't know who Plaid Cymru are or anything about Wales clearly, because that is so, like you said, it's pathetic. It's so non-believable that nobody who knows anything about Welsh politics would even guess at that.
So another thing I wanted to point out, and this thought kind of came to me when I was in the Broadway Boulevard. So Eluned Morgan spent, and Joe Stevens spent a lot of time at the conference saying how the money that Wales got in the spending review was because of their work to make the case for Wales.
Relationship.
Yeah, they said it again and again and again. And if you think about it, what they're saying is, if it wasn't for us, Wales would not have been given any extra money. And that is quite damning when you really think about it. It's not that the UK government looks at Wales and goes, oh, there's a lot of challenges here, we should resource them. It's actually we only got that money because we demanded it. Now, what if we end up in a situation where there isn't a Labour government in the Senedd? If it's a Plaid government, or if it's a Reform Tory government, does that mean that the UK government won't give us money?
That's what they're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, but that is the argument. So I asked Eluned Morgan about this. I said, do you think that if there hadn't been a Welsh Labour government in the Senedd and the Welsh government, Wales would have got that money? She said, we didn't get that money for the last 10 years. So I said, I'm talking about Labour now. And she said, I am not going to speculate about what would happen if this situation didn't exist.
I mean, this is all quite depressing, isn't it?
But she said, I was making the case for Wales because that's my job, standing up for the people of Wales, and I'm really pleased they listened. But did they listen? Because I asked, what did they listen on? Because she'd said in her speech, the winter fuel payment, they listened to us. The winter fuel payment was only reversed because there was a rebellion of Labour MPs, of which only 5 of them were Welsh. Keir Starmer didn't go, well, Eluned Morgan's made a really strong point here, I'm not going to reverse it. They just didn't think they could get it through Parliament. They can't claim the credit.
Yeah, there's no cause and effect there, is there?
No, none. And she said, we're going to keep making the case on things like the Crown Estate, and was saying we really want the Crown Estate devolved. I mean, that got the biggest cheer in the room, by the way. Say we need control of our resources.
Yeah.
That was the thing that really got people going. But it isn't going to happen. The UK Labour government have showed no interest whatsoever in doing that. Do you want to know what kind of sums up how unlikely it is they're going to get this? So there's a woman called Carolyn Harris. She's the MP for Neath and Swansea East.
Sure.
She's got massive glasses, massive red glasses. I don't know why that's relevant, but
No. No.
Would you like to?
No.
Okay.
what have I missed?
No.
I'm just very scared where that was going.
Yeah, we're just very happy you said glasses.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's interesting about Labour conferences, when people give their speeches, there's lots of other people on the stage. So Carolyn Harris is an MP, so she is part of the UK government. And when Eluned Morgan was giving her speech, every time she said something, she was clapping. Carolyn Harris was clapping along.
Bigger and bigger glasses for every line.
Bigger and bigger glasses were just expanding. And it was like Dame Edmure Everidge by the end of it.
Great glasses.
But then when Eluned Morgan said, and we want the devolution of the Crown Estate, her face was like thunder. Didn't clap, didn't do anything. This is a picture of what she looked like.
Oh,
that's like memeable, isn't it?
that is. Yeah. Also, you're right, they're big.
They're big.
They're big.
They are big.
She's got a very expressive face. That's less than nonchalant. That's actively disappointed.
That's such a lovely thing to say about somebody when you can't think of a compliment.
Very expressive face.
Oh, you'd love her. We should set you up with her. She's got a very expressive face. You love expressions.
Yeah, you love knowing what someone's thinking.
yeah. Because your last relationship was communication issues, and you'll always know with her.
You'll
very
never have to guess. Yeah.
The other thing I thought was interesting was Jo Stevens. So Jo Stevens, now I quite like Jo Stevens on a personal level. The first time, we're hoping to get her on the podcast.
Yeah.
The first time I met her, I was just about to start my journalism course, and she was campaigning to be an MP, and she knocked my door and was like, because she's got kind of a Midlandsy accent. She was, oh, you're nice. Was like, I said, I'm going to, see, I do have accents.
He's got range.
Yeah, he does, range.
And I said, I'm trained to be a journalist. She says, I want to be an MP. And now part of my job is seemingly just making her life a bit shit, which I do feel a bit bad about.
But it is a nice full circle moment.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
We've grown up in our careers together.
Yeah, you have.
To be fair, she's always very pleasant to me, considering, like, if I was her, I wouldn't like me. You're
doing your job, Will.
I am doing my job.
You're doing your job, and she's doing her job.
Allegedly.
I was
trying to be very pleasant.
You really tried.
Got to save it for when she's on. She gave her speech, and there was one line in it which really, really wound me up, where she said, for years, the Tories have peddled their lies and false promises on rail, chronically underfunding Wales and riding roughshod over the Welsh government in the process. Conference, we've put an end to that. They haven't. They haven't put an end to it. It's still happening.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lie.
It's not true. Yeah.
It's an untruth.
It's an untruth. And and the annoying thing was, I then asked Eluned Morgan about it, and I said, First Minister, you said in your speech that when Welsh Labour speaks, UK Labour listen. Do you think they've listened on rail? And she said, I think we've come quite a long way if you compare what our ask was to the previous UK government. I made it clear in my speech today that it was just the beginning and I'm expecting more. It doesn't matter what they expect. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, what's actually happened? Where's the truth?
I did get a little bit sassy at one point. I didn't really realise I was sassy until so I'll just play this bit.
Okay.
So Scotland over the same period as Wales is going to get about 4 billion. Wales is going to get about 400 million. Is that the UK government listening?
Well, I think that the rail formulas in terms of the way they're funded is really complicated, and I'll talk you through the detail of it at some point, but it is really complicated. It needs to be broken down, but we've not had a fair deal over the years. It does take a while to ramp this up, so it's not just about turning the taps on now. The tap needs to be kept on, but you have got to think about how much you can absorb.
Yeah, I know the details. I don't think you need to tell me about it.
Thank you.
Shit, Will.
No, I liked that.
I didn't mean that to come across as kind of potentially arrogant as it did. What annoyed
Don't
me.
apologise for that, because that was very valid.
But it was like, this is really complicated. I'm like, it is complicated how money's allocated, but when you understand it, you must be really annoyed. Don't be like, this is complicated, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's literally
really
like,
annoyed me.
but you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it.
It was really lovely to see a female politician mansplain. It was
absolutely feminism completed it, mate.
Right?
Completed it.
Lovely role
Women
reversal.
in male spaces. We love to see it.
You know what? I like that.
Yeah, I
like it a
it.
lot.
10 points.
So just to kind of finish up on the conference now. Next week, we're going to get into a bit more detail because they had plans for AI. Did you see the poster they put out?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen this. Are we saving it for next week?
No,
or?
I'll show you. I'll show you now.
1990s hackers.
They put a
very
poster.
Matrixy.
They put a poster out where they were talking about an AI growth zone. But what does the first two words look like?
Okay. Yeah. So this does look like anal growth zone.
It does look like anal growth zone. They deleted that quite quickly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Not quick enough.
Not quick enough for Details King over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Been Called a Nonce and I saw anal zone and I was like, oh yeah, get me in there.
He was searching anal growth and this came up accidentally.
Bloody hell, Labour. I tried to have a night off.
In a hotel on my own in Llandudno. This is perfect. I've got some concerns about my health, but luckily this has come up. So they're listening.
So I think that and Jeremy Miles made some significant announcements around health, and we do want to dig into them, but I think that's something we're going to save for next week. But my overwhelming sense from this conference is I have never been more convinced that they are heading to third place. They told me that this will be the last conference before the general election. They're not going to have one in the autumn. They're not going to have one in the spring because then they'll be in general election, Senate election mode, which I get. There'll be a UK-wide one. But this was like the kind of last time to rally the troops. And I had a couple of conversations with people within the party and they're really disorganised at the moment. So some of the selections for candidates hasn't been done yet and isn't likely to be complete into the autumn. And it's because there's a debate over having, let's not get into it too much, but zipped lists where if you have a man at the top, you have a woman next and vice versa. And there's a debate over the legality of that. But ultimately, it means that a lot of the candidates aren't going to know their candidates until the autumn. Whereas Plaid Cymru, they know who a lot of their candidates are. They're out, they're messaging, they're canvassing, and they're on message. Labour, when I was there, it just felt like Eluned Morgan is like doing her best. But it does feel almost run out of road time.
Yeah.
And I don't see, I think they can improve their position. Of course, they can improve where they are. I just don't see how they how they're even close to the largest party next year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've just left feeling like I think they're in real trouble.
Yeah, it feels, well, this is historic, isn't it? You know, sort of.
Welsh politics is about to change really significantly and Wales is about to change. Like, if Wales, the lead party in Wales is not Labour, Wales has never been there.
We've been talking about this since we started the podcasts last October time. Why have Labour not got their candidate? I know there's legality things. Why can't they prioritise that and go? But it's because that there's no oomph in them.
Well, one excuse they don't have is that they're not resourced. They've got much more money and much more staff than Plaid Cymru. Much more. The problem, I think, not just in getting their house in order in terms of administration, but also in terms of messaging and strategy, is because you've got people pulling in different directions. You know, there's people already jockeying behind the scenes for who replaces Eluned Morgan if they don't do well at the election.
Sure.
This is not a united front going, right, we're going to all pull together for the next 10 months and make this thing work. These are people who are all tied together with ropes but are running in different directions.
And arguably that's been since Mark Drakeford stood down. In terms of like who succeeded him, and you can because at that point it felt like it was a united party, at least from the outside.
I think it wasn't necessarily. There was discontent with the direction that Mark Drakeford had taken them. They felt that maybe he was pulling too to the left, that he wasn't responsive enough, they weren't kind of agile enough, and that was kind of part of Vaughan Gething's sell. Was we need to kind of be a bit more business friendly.
Sure, he was the sort of the Starmer candidate, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was kind of the centrist candidate.
But I think what Mark Drakeford managed to do, partly through his own kind of experience, or his own profile, and a bit kind of his own kind of gravity, was hold these disparate groups together and keep Plaid Cymru at arm's length. Yeah. Because Plaid voters tended to like Drakeford.
Sure.
You remove him, which obviously removes that kind of stable factor. You then have him still having quite a significant role in the government.
Yeah.
So you don't really change that much, but you also don't have the benefits of him. You then have Vaughan Gething doing something which really, I mean, he fantastically managed to make people engage with Welsh politics. You then had the party pull itself apart. You then had a general election result where everything since has been disappointing, and it's just almost a perfect storm. And I hate the phrase "a perfect storm" when it's used wrong, but I genuinely think it is.
I wonder how Welsh Labour would be doing now if Starmer had a bump. You know, like I think the polling today was like they had the worst polling of a UK Prime Minister in his first year. If they'd had this kind of like huge honeymoon period where everyone was like, Labour's great, I wonder how much effect that would have had on Welsh Labour. But I mean, and maybe Welsh Labour were banking on that or hoping for it.
I think they were. I think they were banking on positivity, or at least dictating the narrative through decision making and basically saying, look what we're doing, here's, we're going to hang our hat on this. Not, yeah, you've had a historic amount of rail funding, even though it's a fraction of what we should have and what Scotland got. Also, this election is going to be nasty.
Yeah.
Like, I suggested maybe we should give people a bit more control over their vote, and people piled on. Imagine what's going to be when we actually get into stuff that's actually controversial.
You know, speaking of nastiness, and it's up to you whether you keep this on the edit or not, but you know when we had James Evans on and he became very animated when he spoke about the Lib Dems and how...
Hated the Lib Dems.
Yeah, a nasty campaign that they run. Many Instagram DMs we got backed that up from various different parties.
So quite a few people have said the Lib Dems are nasty at local level, especially.
Yeah, we had quite a few DMs from Plaid Cymru, from Labour, saying that.
See, I remember after we finished recording that, I was very surprised by that.
Yeah,
and it
I was
felt like,
very surprised.
Wow, they're the...
They seem like the least likely.
Yeah.
You know?
They've got a little bird in
Yeah.
their logo.
You know, they're throwing their leader off a helter-skelter. Like, do you know what I mean? They don't feel like they're...
In a good way.
Yeah. Not a nasty way. But we did get... Because I, you know, with respect to James, and thank you for coming on the pod, not that I didn't believe it, but it felt like a personal thing.
Yeah.
And I was wrong, you know, because clearly there are many people who back up what he was saying.
Local election campaigning can be like super nasty, and it tends to be targeted at individuals.
The individual, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to get taken up to 11 when you've got Reform, Tories, Lib Dems, Labour, Plaid, all battling on doorsteps, literally battling on doorsteps.
Yeah.
By the way, if the Lib Dems do want to come on, David Chadwick, MP, Jane Dodds, feel free to come on. You're very welcome. DM me. What is not going to be nasty is our live show in Wrexham on the 6th of September. Tickets are available.
So excited.
It's going to be buzzing.
It's going to be
great.
so great.
It's going to, like, the vibe, the theme of the event is Broadway Boulevard.
Yes, exactly.
Come dressed to impress.
Absolutely. Can't wait. The last one was so much fun. And it's going to be great to head up to North Wales as well. I'm really looking forward to it.
T-Pub is gorgeous as well.
It's a great venue.
What a
Yeah.
I've never been there. Is it nice?
It's really, really fun. Lovely people who work there. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. And we get to have a nice little drive. Are we car?
Let's car share.
Should we work out the details now? Or should we?
Let's do off mic, I reckon.
Okay, cool.
Let's do off mic. Yeah.
Let's give our license plate out for
Exactly,
the journey up.
please.
Buzzing for it. So tickets are available online. I believe it'll be in the show notes of the episode.
And the links in our bios on
Totally.
the socials.
So come along and let us know if you've booked your tickets. That's always nice.
Yes.
And we can shout about it. So that's in the start of September. Anything else to plug?
No, I plugged myself enough.
Okay.
Cool. How about you?
Still on tour. Not doing a Wrexham date, weirdly. I am across the border in Chester.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't make Wrexham work for some reason.
That's not far though, is it?
Fine. Basically, I think the last Chester date I did, the vast majority of the audience were from Wrexham.
Yeah.
And it just like a swell across the border.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
So yeah, but around the UK. And my Aberystwyth comedy shows have just gone on sale for the autumn.
Brilliant. That's a
comedy
great
there.
festival.
Gorgeous festival. So I'm doing a work in progress and a kid show as well in Aber.
Start of October.
Yes.
I reckon you'll do a great kid show.
The kid show is real fun.
Is it a lot of fun?
It's real wholesome. So yeah, it's if you've got kids, then bring them along, and it's silly story-based comedy.
Brilliant. Nice. I've been Mel Owen.
I've been Robin Morgan.
And I'm Will Hayward.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ra.